Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, now we turn our attention. Remember, all of these materials causing, well, structural defects is the issue of collapsed buildings. Again, what do we do about standards and quality? We're joined now by the Director General of the Standards Organization of Nigeria, Mr. Joseph Odumodu. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Well, only yesterday we looked at this matter, and then the head of the structural engineering spoke a lot about this. He also did say they were working with you. Yeah. But lately, you've been doing something about the standards or standardizing the blocks industry, cement industry. Yeah. But tell us about that, because there are those who are raising objections, saying that the SON is trying to create a monopoly. What's going on?
Thank you very much, and I want to thank you also for giving me this opportunity. Monopoly, I understand from my economics, it's about somebody, controlling a lot more market than every other person, or maybe even controlling the whole market. Before we started the standardization for cement, a local company that is less than 20 years old already controlled 70% of the market, already has a capacity of 20 million tons annually. And I do also understand and know that the leading international company that has been in Nigeria for almost half a century only had a total capacity of less than 4.5 million tons. So how have I come into monopoly? I should be asking who is saying that. But let me say something, because I don't, unless you want to go on this, because I'd like to...
Part of what they put out there in the public is that if you give them a 60-day deadline to come up with those regulations, they say, look, the time is rather short. That is, those ones who have the bigger capacity, who can meet up with the time that you're giving to them, they feel if they have a little more time, then they can meet up with your requirements.
Okay. Let me explain a little bit more about what is happening, because it's all also linked up to building collapse, and I'll get to that. But let me explain. Today in Nigeria, if you go to the market, there is no bag of cement that carries a batch number. There is no bag of cement that carries an expiry or use before date. They don't carry information about how they should be applied. I mean, they don't even tell you how you should store it. If you store cement on the floor, cement is a chemical, it's hygroscopic. It takes moisture. And if it takes moisture, its activity, reduces. We do market survey. We go out and we see cement bags that are 45 kg. If you design a building and you get all the approvals and an engineer is there, an engineer assumes that a bag of cement is 50 kg. So when he pours it out and it turns out to be 45, it's already compromised. If he pours an expired cement or a cement that is not properly stored, it is also compromised. We had a spate of building collapses in Onitsha in June. 4 houses came down in Onitsha. 3 of them were owned by churches. And I personally was involved in the investigation. And one of the things we found out was, we also needed to know, for example, what kind of cement did they use? And they brought us documents that would show 60 bags of cement. It doesn't tell me anything. Our job is about traceability. I go to a place where a building comes down. I'm able to tell that these people supplied all the reinforcement bars used for the construction. And I'm able to take a sample of that and trace it back to the factory or manufacturer. You can't do that for cement and all that. And these are the reasons why. And who says? I have been a manufacturer for over 25 years. To put a batch number or to change the labeling of a bag, it won't take 60 days. You only need to buy an inkjet. If the bag is passing by, it puts a code on it. That's all I asked for.
What else did you require from that? Because they're talking about this 32.5
There is a larger issue. If there's any agency that has done anything seriously about building collapse in Nigeria, it's SON. We went around studying the environment, because I'm a bit embarrassed when, like Mabe was asking somebody yesterday, was it a material? And I stand here and say, no, it's not material. I mean, if it was pre-2011, I would agree. Today, if you buy, and I make bold on TV to say, go and buy any rod in the market and test. And the point also is that today in the market, every rod you buy can be traced to a manufacturer in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, because every rod has a code. And today I can tell you they meet standards. The point I am making is that every time a building came down, we studied what was wrong. Like those ones in Onisha, they used the wrong aggregates, the scientists will call it, engineers will call it, there's what they call gravel or granite or whatever. What they used in the East to build 4 5-story buildings in those churches, you could use your hand to dismember them.
What do they call those ones?
It's gravel. Every concrete, a reinforced concrete has iron bars, it has sand, it has cement and all that. But cement is the major binder for concrete. And one of the things we've done is we've handled reinforcement bars. We also said, when we studied cement, we found out some things that scared us. For example, no batch number, no expiry date, nothing. But even on top of that, we found out that when we went to the market to ask people, which cement did you use? They said, we used Dangote or Lafarge. Or we said, no. What is the strength of cement you used? Nobody knew about strength of cement.
Does that have to do with the grades?
Of course. So today, the new standard says we need standard for for flooring. We need a standard for plastering. We have a standard for slabs and columns and all that. And I do also recall that a particular international cement company in Nigeria, about 5 years ago, had attempted to register 22.5, and they called it masonry cement. It was the Council of SON that said no, it will create problem in the market. What am I saying? People were misapplying good or quality material, and if you misapply them, they give you wrong results. And that's the problem.
And a lot of people will say that if you're also aware of how the cement market works, it also works with seasons. Oftentimes, the cement makers work with distributors who, they hope will keep the integrity of their product in check.
Yes.
But at the same time, too, because of the disadvantage or the problem of storage, oftentimes cement too doesn't last in the shops of these distributors. But moving away from that, we also are privy to the fact that before now it was, or maybe it's because of the prevalence of social media or the media, the prevalence of building collapse has not been as high as we've noted in recent times. Is it because people are trying to cut corners? And by that, I'm not really talking about the marketers now, or the manufacturers, but maybe more about the builders and people, just plain dumb ignorance. And we've also seen people trying to adulterate even the products that are given by the manufacturers.
Let me just say something about buildings and the collapses. With what I know, a lot more buildings will come down in Nigeria. And I'm saying that before Nigerians. Why? Because we have not started addressing the real issues. One is, every time there's a collapse, we must do thorough investigation and come out with a verdict. Every time you go to a place where a building collapsed, you won't find any engineer or architect, or everybody disappears. You won't even find the drawings. So and what happens over time, we all forget about it, and life goes on until the next one. We just can't continue in this kind of milieu. What I'm actually saying is that what we're doing today, a structural engineer comes and says something, SON comes and says something else. We're all looking at it from a different perspective. We are not working together. For us to find a lasting solution to collapses, we all have to work together. And SON has a recipe. One, we must ensure that architects are involved in designs and structural engineers are involved in structures. But that's not where it ends. And then the state governments would have to do the approvals. And I like what Lagos State is doing right now. You don't just get approval and walk away. You get to apply for every major milestone whilst you're constructing. But that's still not enough. The major reason for buildings collapsing is that the concrete mixture has failed. So you have to be there when they are mixing. And we went around building zones in Lagos, in Abuja. We only found engineers in less than 10% of those sites. So at the end of the day, most of the time, the people who are mixing cement are just ordinary artisans, and most of them are not certified. So, I mean, a group of people sit together and say, the formula is 1, 2, 4, prescribed by the engineer, but nobody is around, and they say, okay, let's take out 20 bags of cement, and still achieve the same result, because they don't even understand what they're doing. So we also must ensure that artisans are certified, and these building control agencies must be peopled. They need more people who must visit the sites. Any structure that is beyond a story building, you must be there while they are mixing the cement all the time.